welcome to The Album Man, and today we are taking a look at Night Thoughts by Barry Palmer. Now, Barry Palmer, if you don't know who he is a singer who's been around in pop and rock since the 1970s. He was the vocalist of the German progressive rock band Triumvirate in the mid to late 70s, but his most famous work was on Mike Oldfield's Discovery album in 1984. Now, on my personal opinion, when it comes to Mike Oldfield, I usually like his instrumental stuff. Tubular Bells, Hair Just Reach, Omadon, they're my favourites. But Discovery has always been one of the vocal-based Mike Oldfield albums I preferred compared to something like 5 Miles Out. And I always thought that Barry Palmer's vocal work was really quite fantastic and combines the wonderful instrumentation and catchy melodies. It is an album I enjoy, with the culmination of this being the song Poison Arrows, which is a great song and definitely worth checking out if you don't already know it. So this album we're looking at today is Barry Palmer's first solo album, I believe, which is entitled Night Thoughts and was released in 2013, I'm going to say, but don't quote me on it. Now at this stage you may be wondering why I am reviewing a solo album from last year from a not hugely known British singer from the 80s. Well, that is because Barry Palmer contacted me and sent me this copy of the album for review. So, I mean, I'm not one to usually review stuff from individuals who send me albums, whether it be digitally or whatever, because a lot of the time the stuff I get sent is, well, pretty crappy stuff that was mixed in someone's bedroom. But the reason I took exception for this is because this is a professionally made album. I mean, this guy has a track record behind him, having worked with freaking Mike Oldfield. So of course I was going to take up the opportunity to have a look at this. And I also enjoyed the single from the album that I had called Innocent. So let us take a look, get into this and see what it is like. Now, this is not an album I'm going to be going quite track by, as of course I know a lot of you will be unfamiliar watching this with Barry's work and might not want to quite see a 20-minute or so review of this, so I'm going to keep this a little bit briefer. Instead I'm just going to talk about mainly what I like about this album, what I dislike, and the songs about it. So let's set the scene of what the album's like as a whole. This is a primarily, I would say, acoustic-driven album in a sort of a singer-songwriter style, though Barry only plays vocals, other people play the various acoustic and electric guitars on the album. And this has often some minimal instrumentation with a focus on conveying emotion and, of course, Barry's voice. And the song Innocence, the single and real opener to this album, I mean, there is a short prelude, Night Thoughts, which I'll talk about a little later on, but really the opening song, I would say, is Innocent. And this highlights Barry's voice, which really seems as strong as it was about 30 years ago, or certainly almost. The acoustic guitar combines the gentle but effective lead guitar melody, creates this nice atmosphere to the track. It's definitely a song that begs to be played at night while looking up at the stars in the middle of the countryside, you know, no air pollution around. It'd be nice for that type of setting. The main problem, though, I have with this track, and it's a problem I do have with the album, is the use of programmed drums. Now, I've said before about how I dislike the use of programmed drums, except maybe in more electronically driven albums, but this is not an electronically driven album. I don't really think the programmed drums suit it. The only thing I would guess of why they're used is maybe, you know, as this wasn't exactly a high-budget album, that maybe Barry could not afford to get a full drummer to play on all the songs. I'm not quite sure, maybe it was just a choice he wanted to sound, but I definitely don't think it works as well as a live drummer would have done for some of the songs. Though the second song on the, well, track 3 technically on the album, and the best song on the album, does have a live drummer, and this song is Dear John. This song very clearly from the opening line, which says, Dear John, imagine all the people, clearly is a song about John Lennon and Barry's fondness for him, and showing the influence that John Lennon and the Beatles had on him, with various reference to Lennon and the Beatles' work dotted throughout, such as the line, with your wistful words of wisdom, you said all you need is love. And fun fact about me, that the song All You Need Is Love is one of my absolute least favourite Beatles tracks. I just really genuinely don't like the song. I don't quite know why, if I'm going to be honest, but I've always found it a fairly annoying song. I mean, I do adore the Beatles, but yet All You Need Is Love doesn't really float my boat, unfortunately. Anyhow, back to the strongest element of this song, which has to be the lyrics. It really is a touching tribute to the great man, which is further accentuated by the wonderful vocal performance. Barry has a very soothing, relaxing voice. Yeah, definitely a great voice for this style of music. I mean, again, this album, it really is one to chill to, and the chill out vibe is helped by Jerry Jablonski on this song. There's a lot of guitars over the course of this album. Who plays the lead guitar, and the solo, I think, suits this song wonderfully and really provides that payoff. This song, I would say, compared to the others, it feels like it builds towards something, delivers, and then comes back down again. It has, I suppose it has more of a crescendo than some of the other songs on the album. It's very well constructed and executed. Another song I'd like to highlight in particular is the track 21st Century Game. Now this is a relatively simple song, merely an acoustic guitar and vocals throughout, though the use of a cello and keyboards simulating, well, just keyboards I suppose, add that extra depth to the song. And what strikes me in particular though is the lyrics, which I really feel brilliantly written and very clever on this track. The song is clearly referencing sort of 9/11, I'd say 7/7 as well, and the events that followed, such as the war in Afghanistan. And Barry's voice has a haunting quality to it as he conveys the messages of this song, and it really emphasises the very powerful imagery described. The lyricism on here is absolutely top notch, and definitely one of the things that really stands out in this album as a particularly interesting aspect. Though, while there is a lot of positive on this album, there are also some songs I just don't feel quite work as well. For example, even though it may be a very minor gripe, I feel the intro, Night Thoughts Prelude, is a rather pointless introduction to the album. It just doesn't seem to flow into the second track, Innocent, as seamlessly as I believe a prelude should at the beginning of an album. I just find it rather superfluous and not delivering much substance in of itself, and its inclusion, I'm not honestly quite sure why it was included. I mean, you have at the end of the album the title track, Night Thoughts, and they sort of bookend the album, but if you're going to go for a prelude, I would say it has to seamlessly move into the first proper track, I suppose, more so, which I don't feel this quite does, not to the extent I would want it to. And there are some weaker tracks on this album. I'm personally not a big fan of the track God Knows. I find the drum programming in this song to be the most obvious, and it really has this sort of 80s pop feel to it to me, and I'm not a big fan of that 80s pop drums, I have to say. It's not a great sound in my opinion. And on a personal level, I'm not too fan of the chorus, which is sort of a shine a light, and I don't know, the vocal melodies and it just don't really seem to work for me. Same with the backing vocal melodies and the a cappella part as well. Just, it doesn't really resonate with me personally. I mean, the subject matter doesn't particularly appeal to me. I'm not saying it's a bad song, but I can't say I particularly find much enjoyment in it. And in conclusion, what I would say about this album is that it's a maturely written, emotional and reflective journey that Barry Palmer takes you on. Though it's not a journey that's going to get your heart beating and pulse racing, as it is an easygoing, gentle album. It's not saying to be blasting out the car on a sunny day or driving down the highway at 100 miles an hour, but it's saying to chill to it at night, as I said before, looking at the stars, maybe with a campfire next to you. Still, it's a surprisingly enjoyable album with some great tracks like Dear John, Innocent, and as well as others. And at times, the problem is, at times I have to say I find this album a little too gentle for my tastes, and I find myself wanting the songs to just go somewhere, to just have that oomph about them, which they don't. I mean, the album isn't meant to. It's meant to be a chill, laid back and gentle, pleasant experience. It's certainly not something that's going to be making you want to rip it out the CD player. It doesn't have anything that could possibly offend your ears on it. Though I do sometimes, as I said, feel that the songs just don't quite go in enough places for my personal liking. I'm going to give this album a 6.5 out of 10. I give that because, while I like the album as a whole, it's not something I'd really actively listen to and sit down. It's more something I would have in the background, and as I said, just something to chill out to as more of a background thing than something I would listen to as a main album or piece of music. So yeah, that is Barry Palmer's Night Thoughts. Check out the song Innocent, the single. That will be in the description below. If you want to buy the album, you can get it at Barry Palmer's website. Again, a link in the description below. So yeah, feel free to check this out. This sounds like the type of thing you'll be interested in. So this has been TheAIbumMan. Big thank you to Barry Palmer for sending me a copy of the album. I very much appreciate it. I always love these opportunities, and yes, very much a big thank you to him. So this has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.